interrupt regular programming to bring you a message from Her Majesty's government. Please stand by and await further information.
You might be thinking, what on earth is going on to the beginning of this video? But this video is a story, a day with a good friend, Neil James, visiting a place that put the fear of God in me as a kid, Greenham Common. And as you've just seen, the Greenham Common Women's Peace Camp, the established camps and protesters of nuclear weapons being placed at RAF Greenham Common in Berkshire, England. The camp began on the 5th of September 1981, and I remember later on, it was probably over a year later, that we were seeing these scenes on the news. We were hearing of Russia and America at odds, and the chance of nuclear war was imminent. The fear, this base, the fear of TV back then, not like today, to a young mind like my own, definitely had an effect on me and had an effect on the rest of my life. So just by chance and getting to know Neil, he's very close to Greenham Common, so we went and paid a visit and put some devils and put the fear to rest. We're here, we've made it. We're on the mooch, we're on the walk, and we're having a jangle with this gentleman. If you don't know who this is, links down below. This is Neil James from the Photowalk, and we're at Greenham Common. I mentioned it last night, you might have seen that clip. I don't know how I'm going to arrange all this, but we're here for having a photo walk at a place that lays a memory deep in my brain from being a wee youngster under the mushroom cloud as a child, growing up with the fear of this base where we are at Greenham Common. There's quite a few people walking around, and it's vast open space, and I can see, I can't help myself, there's a load of birchen trees to my left, so we're going to have a little wander over there later, and we're heading into some woodland. But for now, this is going to be a bit of a investigation of a landscape that was once feared, revered, and protests known all around the world for the American bombers that were here with the nukes. That's in its layman basic terms, you know me. We're not going to get into the nitty-gritty, but there is a real emotional connection with this landscape today because it did affect me as a child, as it probably has for many children these days, like COVID has and the lockdown. So there's a significance for being here, but not just that. I'm with Neil. He's a f***ing legend. Sithee. Imagine now, huge bomber planes just coming in, terrifying sight, and touching down on this tarmac. So we're just walking down the airfield, what was the main runway. It's huge, a huge expanse, quite shocking, but there's very little to photograph in terms of, you know what I love, these things, trees. And we've got this birch woodland with lots of stands and very little separation, but working together as I quite like a chaotic scene of silver jumping out at you. We're going to have a try at something, I think, when we get round and go in this woodland. So we're just walking around, skirting the edges of the runway now, and I've got to say, the emotion, the feeling of the place, it's sparse, empty, almost haunting. And with trees like this, even more haunting. Look at that. What a creature. What a character. It's not really a photograph. It's not as aesthetic in an artistic way, but it's certainly representative of a mood of today. It's very flat, low cloud, and but a nice soft box of light for the woodland. You might wonder, what do I mean by that? Well, it just filters, and you can play around in post with a little bit of dodge and burn and highlight and bring out areas of significance that attracted you to the shot. And I think that's what we'll be doing today, is picking out specific areas, little areas that jump out at us. So we're going to keep wandering with Neil. Hi, Neil.
Why do you, when you blog,
Yeah?
here's a question about blogging.
Go on.
Vlogging.
Vlogging.
Sorry, vlogging.
Don't say vlogging, no.
Sorry. When you're vlogging, you're not seeing yourself on the screen. You turn the camera around. You do it from a different direction.
I want the best lens.
Yeah, well, I
cam,
figured that was probably the reason. But
and just hope I'm in frame.
well, I've been looking the other side. Most of the time, you are.
There you go. Look at these spiky bastards. That's what they are, spiky bastards. Oh, it's so bad. As a YouTuber, life's so hard. Getting through this bracken and bush, and the thorns are in my leg.
I struggled.
Oh, it's been such a struggle today. How am I going to get to the other side of the runway?
I think this is called Jimmy Cranky Bush.
Oh, that got back at leg, that then. Oh, it's on my knob. Ow. We're through the gauze. The bush of doom, the YouTuber's nemesis. We're through, we're safe. It was torturous. Very difficult. I nearly got a cut on my leg, but I'm all right now. Bye. Oh, Sithee. So we've just walked down the path, and I just want to point out something. Neil said, is that a Mali's tree? If you don't know what a Mali's tree is, which I don't neither, but on the Photowalk, Neil mentions about, I did a project, not project, what do you call them?
Oh, an assignment. You did.
Continue. An assignment of Mali's trees, which was a privilege, especially amongst some of the named photographers. And he just says, is that not a Mali's tree? But do you know what? As you're seeing this now on screen, there's the composition. I quite like that. So we're just going to stop for a second. I'm going to talk you through this quick. I'm going to try and get this at as lowest aperture as I can, so the background is even more soft. And we're going to overexpose. We'll get the detail in the back, and by overexposing, we should create something that has separation, has aesthetics. It's pretty. I like it. And that's what stopped us. Neil spotted it, so all credit to Mr. James. And continue on, I'll put the shot up at the end. So I've headed off a little bit here. Neil was warning me earlier on about the nuclear, you know, the thought, like the... Oh my God.
Look there. Amazing.
I don't need me ready, Brett, ma'am. I'll be with you soon. So we've moved further down, and this must be a significant place where the radiation's still here. Look at this.
Go out, look.
Oh my God. The cows. 15,000 steps. And sadly it's not sadly at all. It's actually a Brucey bonus. Because it's turned into woodland. I could not ignore the magnificent birch and oak that we've seen, and hopefully a few shots at the end you'll quite like from Greenham Common. So this was supposed to be more of a documentary style, I think being influenced by Neil, shall we say, which is no bad thing. But that's not me. I get too excited when I see wood behave. Moving on. I like trees, I love trees. Trees, they're significant to me. And the point I've jumped on here to talk about after the B-roll I've been filming is that to see a place that was once known as the death machine, as a place of fear and Cold War and all the bad things that go with men and the toys and the weapons of mass destruction, we've been left with a landscape that is the green and pleasant land of this country. It's quite magnificent to think how nature has took it back. Yeah, it's heartwarming, and the feelings I had from a child of the fear of the mushroom cloud have gone. This has changed a lot in my mind of how I thought about this place, because it isn't how I envisaged it. It isn't how I thought it would be today. And I'm really happy about that. And I hope you've enjoyed this too. We're going to carry on for a bit longer. So what's Neil think of today's walk?
I've really, do you know what? I thought we were going to head towards the command centre and the control tower.
Yeah.
And there's a bit over there which is now an open prison effectively. But we haven't. We spent our time in the forest. But where we are standing now and hearing you talking about, you know, the fear of the mushroom cloud, we are roughly, it's a little bit over there to be fair, but we are where the nuclear accident that wasn't a nuclear accident happened. And this is where we're at the end of the runway. Heads east, isn't it, here? I'm sure it was east. It can't have been west, because that would have been too close to the town itself. But in 1950 something, certainly at a stage now where the Freedom of Information Act has allowed documentation to come out. This is where an aircraft was taking off, and it had engine failure on the climb out, but so soon after takeoff that it jettisoned the 2 fuel tanks that it was flying with. One of them went into a hangar close by to here, and the other one hit a parked aircraft that was on or not on some form of flight, and it had apparently a 1 megaton nuclear arm on board. So you've got to think that this was coming toward the height of the Cold War, when aircraft would lift with nuclear weapons, and it hit that. I think it landed just short of the aircraft, went up in flames, wow, took the aircraft with it, and unfortunately the pilot and navigator as well. And so, that's where the story sort of, there's so many different versions of it. And one of the versions, well, there was no fire here, nothing happened here, there was nothing to see here, but for the fact that 1 million gallons of water was dropped on it by the local fire brigade, who couldn't exactly cover that story up in quite the same method. And this is roughly where that accident happened. You wouldn't think so now, would you? You wouldn't think so. Look around. It's just grass, isn't it? But the accident that never happened, that did happen, that never happened, that did happen, didn't happen here. So I never get the numbers right, but my son would know this. A C1 something, 130, 120 maybe, not quite sure, but they put it here as it was a firefighting training aircraft, so it's hollow inside, and they'd put seats in it and dummy passengers, and they'd spray it with aviation fuel, which is why you've got this thing here. Can you see it? the trough here, and then it would all be drained. I mean, I don't know where all the drained aviation fuel went to, but they'd drain it afterwards, and they'd set it alight and rescue things out of it. Must have been amazing when it went up in flames. Can you imagine it?
Yeah,
imagine it.
Oof. We've come to the end of the day. Always, I feel quite sad, in a good way. I don't want it to end, and you try to fit as much in as you can when you come to places like this. We're good friends, and meeting up with Neil today has been a pleasure, and spending time and last night and
the local Indian restaurant,
yeah,
my favourite.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
Yeah.
Really good. Thank you so much for.
No, thank you for coming down. You've come a long way, and I appreciate that. I hope you've enjoyed looking around Greenham Common. I know we didn't do all the things that we planned to do, because well over there's the missile silos where, now I can't remember the actual number, but was it 80 or 90? Have I gone well over? It could have been 50. Doesn't matter. There was more than enough nuclear war power. We're going this way. We're going that way.
Oh, we got.
There was more.
I'm lost.
There was more than enough nuclear power to take out Europe with what they held here. But they didn't. The missiles wouldn't have been launched from here. They went out on vehicles, and the launchers would go into what's called Burclear, Kingsclear, the clears that are all around here, and they'd be set up on concrete. In concrete aprons, and they would fire their weapons from there. That was the idea of what would happen. But the silos that are over there, they were used during the most recent Star Wars film. And when this land was first handed over, is when I first started making pictures and photography. And I was at college at the time, mature student obviously, at Newbury College. And one of the projects was go find something that is beaten up, broken down, dilapidated, urbex kind of thing.
Urbex, yeah.
And I chose the silos, and you could get into them. Since then, the MOD or whoever has put razor wire around them and made sure you can't. But I went into these huge silos, which are blast-proof, and they're over there. You can't see them from here. Maybe insert a picture. There must be some sort of footage available.
Yeah.
But those silos had these massive, and I could see why they wouldn't want you in there, because they had these big vats of oil to take. These big blast doors would come down, and they would use the oil as a hydraulic, and so there were literally swimming pools of oil underneath this, so you couldn't. So I wandered in and out. It was really spooky. So we haven't seen that, and we haven't been to the old country house where Eisenhower and Churchill planned for D-Day, and apparently I shot a wedding there once, and apparently they one of Eisenhower's generals, corporals or whatever, drove a jeep up the main stairwell as a bit of fun.
I guess after a few drinks.
There's so much history.
Yeah, there is. Yeah,
so much history. I mean, you could spend a day wandering around what was one of the most feared, or if not the most feared, airbase of Europe. It was a hideous place, horrible.
Yeah,
horrible. And we haven't even talked about the Greenham Common peace movement. I mean, there's a whole story, there's a whole film of its own, because once they tens of thousands of people, is it tens of thousands, or am I embellishing again, formed a human chain around the
perimeter. Yeah,
singing "We Shall," overcome. And
I remember. That's what I remember from it. That's what shapes my thinking about here, is how people come together to remove the threat, really, because it's a threat to civilization back then. That was the feeling.
Well, I know CND didn't like the idea of nuclear weapons. Obviously, it's nuclear disarmament, but equally, having this here was a massive target on an area of West Berkshire, which, if attacked, would not have stood a chance.
Yeah.
Yeah. So no wonder they wanted to get rid of it.
And on that really cheerful, bright note, really hope you've enjoyed this one.
Should we go have bacon butty?
Let's go and have more bacon.
I'll tell you what, you're going to have a bacon butty that grows its own legs as you eat it.
Thanks so much for watching and joining me today, myself and Neil at Greenham Common and the surrounding area. It's been an absolute pleasure, a good laugh. So you know what to do. If you've liked this, hit subscribe, and if you want to see more, hit the notification bell.
Can I say the word? Can I say the word?
You can. Wait, don't peek too soon.
Ring the bell. Subscribe, like and subscribe.
I'm a musical YouTuber. My arm's hurting. I want to go. Me bacon. So you know what? There's only one thing left to say, and that's
Sithee!
Aye, I'll let him have that one. Sithee.